The moment is here, you can stop your search. It's Comics by Perch.
Hey everybody, this is Perch. A couple days ago, a week ago, whenever it was, I'm still overseas when I'm recording this, so a bit jet lagged. I did this. I read the story to you, and it's since got a little bit of news pickup, not that much, of the death threats that had gone toward DC and Tom Taylor over the Superman John Kent is gay. And this made some. It's hard to say headlines. Yes, it did make some headlines, but it wasn't this big pushed around story that a lot of people went for. And I had a couple takeaways, but what was curious about that was the reaction in the comments to the video. And people did not like that video. It's one of definitely got some downvotes, and people didn't like to hear it. But more importantly, were the people who were really willing to accept and even push the idea that the entire thing was faked, that there wasn't actually any death threats. It was all just the mainstream media trying to fake news it and lie in order to protect the gay John Kent character. So I wanted to unpack a bunch of things to it. And by the way, I'm not done. The other way this was used is it got held up as a, see, we told you there were toxic fans. See, we told you they were there. We told you there were bigots who couldn't accept he was gay. See? And in all fronts, I think the story is not telling us what we think it's telling us. So first off, I think it should be heartening, if you will, that after all the concern, and if you go on Twitter, Facebook, if you listen to the interviews of some of these guys, they often describe their world as very perilous, that there are thousands and thousands of toxic, angry fans out there that they fear for their life around every corner, and it's just they're barraged by constant mail. Well, in this case, it was a guy. Somebody who created different accounts, but it was still one person who was doing this. Not 1,000, not 20,000, not half of America that are deplorables, but one guy, one clearly sick, crazy individual. And yes, that person does exist. I think if you're looking at this and you're willing to believe that this was all a conspiracy and none of this stuff is real, I'm sorry. That's stretching it. An actual police report was filed. Actual charges appear to be being filed. Like, this was actually something that occurred. If there was going to be a big fake over this entire thing, they would not stop at one person. They would create a huge, because it doesn't serve their narrative if it's just one person. And the reality is, look, whatever you're in love with, and I don't know, maybe you're into Dungeons and Dragons, maybe you're into Halo, maybe you're into I don't know, it's going to go somewhere dark and disturbing with it, but whatever you happen to be into, there is somebody who's in your fan club, in your zone, in your, who likes the same things you do, who is a lunatic. There's annoying, crazy people everywhere. Look, I like Guns N' Roses. I like them as the band. Now, do I think that there is another person in all the people who are fans of Guns N' Roses? Do I think there's another person in there who's a crazy nut job who, wants to cut Axl Rose's hair and smell it before they go to sleep at night? Absolutely, that guy exists out there. Absolutely. Every fandom, everything has somebody who takes it too far who is a nut job. It doesn't mean everyone's a nut job, and I think it's really wrong when people like to portray all the fans by one. And that's a little bit what DC has done here, where they talk about everyone who objects to John Kent, the way he's currently being written, must be a homophobe who's going to elicit death threats. But the reality is, no. There's lots of people who don't like the character because he was aged up, and maybe even because he's bisexual. Maybe people do not like that revelation to his character, but just not liking it, one, doesn't mean you're a homophobe. Two, doesn't mean you're going to go and start throwing out death threats. It just means you don't like it. Yes, it's possible to not like a character development and not be a bigot. If you didn't like Iceman being revealed to be gay, that doesn't mean you're a homophobe. It may mean you're a homophobe. It may be. It may be that you hate everything that is gay and you just can't stand it. It may also mean that you liked the Bobby Drake character the last 40 years and they changed the character in a substantial way, and you're frustrated by that. That's fair. It is fair to criticize something and not be immediately labeled as the worst of all the people criticizing it. And that's kind of what went on here. I think that, here's the thing. Nobody comes off looking good at this. The, DC and some of the people were running around going, see, this is what we have to deal with. What, you mean the one guy? I'm not saying that one guy wasn't dangerous, but if your point was to portray, tens of thousands of online fans that criticize your book as putting you in imminent danger, well, it was one guy. We take that one guy seriously, worry about what one person can do, but you need to be more specific. You need to say, the fans that tip over and start putting out death threats over a comic book character is somebody who's lost their nut. That is, thankfully, that is very, very rare. It's not, we can't conflate the two. So, but also I am disappointed by the fans who look at this and go, well, this was clearly fake because DC wanted to create a fake narrative to, stick it to the Comicsgate people. No, I don't think so. Do I think that Taylor or some of the people involved might take this and use it for as much mileage as they can get? Absolutely. I think that's going to happen. Absolutely. But it doesn't, just like it doesn't help for people within comics to exaggerate and turn one person into 1,000 people. It also doesn't help for people to, pretend that there's not a lunatic in their midst. There's a lunatic in every group. So pretending like there's not one just makes you as silly as the comic pro who's pretending like there's 10,000 of these people running around. It's just, it's denial of reality. And unfortunately, none of it helps anything. I think you cannot sell a comic book. Like, nobody's going to go buy John Kent Superman because it's like, oh, wow, did you hear that some person who clearly had mental issues sent death threat letters to DC threatening to kill him over John Kent? I better go get a copy right now. That doesn't happen. People don't do that. And frankly, as a company, would you want that fan? I don't think you want somebody who's buying your comic book because they feel sorry for you because you got threatened. That's a weird business strategy. It's not healthy. And it doesn't exist anyway. If the book sells, it's because people are compelled by what they read in it. Whatever that might be. That's what's going to sell a book and make a book and make things take off. If you're trying to sell based off sympathy, go do a GoFundMe. Go do something like that, but don't try to do it in the comic books because it absolutely is a failed strategy. It won't work. So a lot of things to kind of look at this and take away from it. In the end, yeah, there's not that many lunatic, crazy fans out there that are actually threatening people. There's not. I wish it was harder to mail in a death threat. I definitely believe that there are people on Twitter who can create a fake account and, mail Gail Simone and say, go kill yourself. I'm sure there are. There are definitely, I wish it wasn't that easy to go do that. I think that's wrong. And if you're one of those people who's done that, go get your head examined. That's not a healthy way, by any stretch of the imagination, to express how much you don't like something. But at the same time, not a but, just at the same time, please, people within comics, put these things in the proper perspective. Stop trying to portray that there's legions of fans out there that are out to get you or that are want you dead. It doesn't help. We now have multiple years of sales figures that show that doesn't sell a book. It's tiresome. It's not heroic. It's not like the characters you're writing, and it just divides everyone further. Unfortunately, what we've seen is several cycles of this, where somebody gets frustrated with a comic, one person takes it too far and threatens somebody, which again, throw the book at that guy. It sounds like that guy has deep mental issues, but absolutely. If you take it far enough to start mailing letters in and really getting threatening with it, absolutely, you're going to get charged, and you should be. But don't make that guy into a martyr, which is what seems to be going on. Give it some perspective. Put it, you'll win more fans that way. Otherwise, all you do is you take one person, you use it to insult 1,000 people, and the 1,000 people get pretty pissed at that. And then before you know it, you're starting to push them into taking things too far. And no, that doesn't. Somebody takes something too far, it's on them. That's their fault. But why would why wave a red flag in front of a bull? It's just dumb. And I get that it gets you attention. It probably gets you some sympathy and people going, oh my God, I'm sorry I have to deal with this. Oh man, terrible. But you know what would be even better attention? Writing a great comic and having people love it and just sticking with that attention. That's positive attention. Getting attention off of some poor lunatic, that it's gross, quite frankly. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and thanks for listening.